Hi folks, welcome to the Homestead. I'm Wayne.
I'm Short Sandy.
And we are from what originally was known as Hubbard's Hillside Homestead. And my wife decided that it just didn't quite have the ring she wanted. So now we have changed the name to
A Homestead Life in Appalachia.
And we're doing it in collaboration along with some other YouTubers. And we are brand new to the YouTube thing, and I do have my list. We have Backwoods Raised, Practical Modern Homestead, Stoneycreek Heritage Farm, Bois Homestead.
Bois.
Bois. Leave it to her. Serenity Mountain Homestead. And she said Backwoods Raised twice. Y'all must be important.
And it's brought to you by Youngblood.
Youngblood
Family Farm. Sorry, had to look at our notes.
Yeah, and the collaboration has to do with how we heat our homestead. Well, folks, I guess I get to start this part out. And we're going to come around here. Part of how we started our homestead was living in an RV. We lived in a small camper trailer for a few months. It worked decent through the spring, into the summer. So after we had lived in it for a few months and we moved into our cabin, which is a shed we're converting to a cabin, we decided to cannibalize our camper. We wanted a refrigerator that ran off of propane since we're off grid. So we already had this. If you've ever priced an LP refrigerator, they're cheap. Not really.
No, they're not.
So, and to get enough solar to run a small refrigerator or a decent sized refrigerator was just not an option money wise.
There you go.
Especially with the situation we were in money wise. So, when we started cannibalizing the camper, we took out our furnace. Small 19,000 BTU forced air furnace. This is the thermostat. It's actually underneath and behind this cabinet and stair setup that I built. So it's actually used more as just a backup, which is really nice to set the thermostat at like 50 degrees. If we go away for the day for some reason, we don't have to worry about mama's babies getting cold.
Mama's babies. There's one right there.
The other one's right here.
That's Willie, wherever.
And
right,
Waylon's
let's see.
right.
There's Willie. And then there's Waylon. And yes, they are Mama's babies.
So we don't want mama's babies to get cold while we're gone.
That's right.
So we set the thermostat on 50. Yes, it does eat up battery, and yes, it does go through a decent amount of propane, but it's rather good for a backup. Now, the backup to our backup is we also have a vent-free propane wall heater. It doesn't go through as much propane, but again, these are purely backups because our main heating source is our wood cook stove.
As we walk you through our cabin,
we are in a 12 by 32 cabin, so therefore we don't have a lot of room. We originally had an older cook stove that was not airtight, if you will. So we could heat it till it was 700 degrees on the top, and literally I know it to be 700 degrees because we have our laser thermometer and we check every once in a while. Now, and it would not heat the cabin. We broke down and bought a Baker's Choice from Lehman's a couple weeks ago. Now we have no problem heating the cabin. This thing is supposed to heat up to 2,000 square feet, and we're under about 340 maybe. So
it gets hot in here.
I'd rather be hot and open the doors to cool down than be cold and not be able to warm up.
The door is open because it's like 80 degrees in here right now.
And it's just in the upper 40s outside. So, therefore, This is not only our heating source, but this is also our cooking. So we go through a lot less wood with this cook stove. And the amount of room we had was not conducive to have a large cook stove and a small wood stove also to heat. So therefore we have to do dual duty just for the sake of room. So I'll leave this to my wife and she can fill you in on the rest of it. Oh, well, I will tell you this. We do have 38.5 acres of off-grid back in the woods in West Virginia, very covered with timber. We probably have 34-ish acres of our property is covered with timber, and it was timbered just before we bought the property. Had to wait for it to finish being timbered to take possession of the property. So therefore now we have lots and lots and lots of tree tops from the logging process all over the hillside. So we have plenty of wood. So we're since this is our first winter on the homestead, and we are just 7 months in. Yeah, we're 7 months in. We have to kind of cut our firewood as we go. So we've got a couple of sheds outside because of it being dark outside. We've had no water for a few days, had a great freeze up, busted the water heater, all this great stuff. So to be able to clean the cabin enough to invite you guys in, we had to wait till we got water put back in. So now that and we need to turn our video over, we didn't have time enough to be able to show you what our wood sheds look like, but my wife built those with some help from me out of
I am woman, hear me roar.
Out of pallets. Now that little arm you just saw, that's the one that does most of the firewood busting. She does the splitting with a splitting axe. I cut it. Of course, I have to help her sometimes.
The big logs he chops in half, and then I finish the job.
Fortunately, now with the wood cut stove we previously had, everything had to be busted into small pieces, so there was a lot of split work had to be done. Now that we have the Baker's Choice, it will use a much larger piece of wood, which also helps it hold heat throughout the night, hold fire throughout the night, so we're not up every hour and a half. Yes, every hour and a half. That, doesn't help you sleep very well.
And he's a grouch when he doesn't get his sleep.
And she can claim to, but she very seldom got up with the stove. But this one here will hold heat.
At least I'm not a grouch like he is. Be nice to the camera, dear.
Whatever. So back to the stove. If you guys are thinking about a double duty, I strongly suggest the Baker's Choice or the Pioneer Princess, which is just the bigger version of this. Doug and Stacy from Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, they originally had this stove, and then they moved, not this one particular, but then they moved up to a Pioneer Princess. And when we build our bigger cabin, this is a temporary cabin. Once we build the bigger cabin, we will move up to a Pioneer Princess. But until then, this is doing a wonderful job. And that's about all I got to say about it.
Okay.
How about you?
We'll trade a little bit.
Okay. Flip it around here. Didn't I tell you flip it?
Yep.
Flip it.
And it didn't flip, so I just turned with it.
Okay.
So, I love my stove. Like you said, we got it at Lehman's in Kidron, Ohio. These stoves run about $2,100. We were blessed in the fact that this was a floor model. We called like 4 or 5 days ahead of time, asking them if they had any in stock. They told us that they had 2 floor models available. And we went and we actually found one that had the warming oven, which I love. It's great to let your bread sit in there and raise, or your cinnamon rolls. It had a few scratches on it, which is fine with me. I mean, we're a homestead. We don't have to have perfect. It has a stainless steel top, and we have our little eco fan on it to help spread the heat around. It's an amazing little fan. I don't know
if you're heating with wood, and you don't have an eco fan, whether it's this smaller one or the larger one with 4 blades, you are missing the boat. This thing makes its own electricity and spins the fan on its own. And the hotter it gets, the faster the fan spins, so it moves heat all over the cabin. Great.
This is a little 2-blade fan, and we were lucky they had them on sale for $59. They normally run $100. It has a really good sized firebox to it. As you can see, makes lots of heat.
About dropped you.
Don't drop me. And then we have our oven here, which I have a skillet in here seasoning, which is time to take out. Yeah, it's hot. The oven is awesome. The other thing with this particular one that we got, the temperature gauge does not work. But then again, it was a floor model, so I'm okay with that because I have one of them little round thingies that I bought at, I think, Rural King, and put in there, and it does really well. And plus, when you're cooking on a wood cook stove, you really can't normalize the temperature at all. It gets hot, it gets cold, it's a constant up and down, so you just got to go with it. There were a lot of people who were worried about us freezing to death this winter. We'll go over here just to ease their mind and let them know we will not freeze to death. It is 80 degrees in here right now. It's going to be very, very hot upstairs in that loft when we go to bed here in just a little bit. But luckily, since we have solar and we have batteries and we have the generator to charge the batteries, we have a fan upstairs and we have a window upstairs, and it'll cool off really quick. So we will link to all of the other YouTube channels that were in on this collaboration. We hope that you would like and subscribe to our channel, and make sure you hit the little bell button, and that way you'll get notified whenever we have a new video coming up. And don't forget to check out the other channels. Make sure you like and subscribe to them as well. We hope you enjoyed our video, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care. God bless. Bye.
Bye, y'all.